Hi, Pam here. You can lose your job for your political opinions. I repeat, you can lose your job for your political opinions. So we live in a world today where because you've articulated a particular opinion on the world geopolitical situation today, you can lose your job, you can be terminated. This just happened to a friend of mine, a doctor. He's been a doctor for many years, he's worked on cruise ships for many years, and he's been fired for voicing his opinions on the Israel-Gaza situation. He was on a cruise ship, got terminated about 4 days ago now, and just for his political opinion on Twitter, he got terminated. Imagine that. In the United States, not in North Korea. And so now we're in a situation where people have to be extremely careful on expressing their true feelings about international conflict. Now, this doctor friend of mine wasn't at work on a cruise ship in the medical center, in the hospital, mouthing off his opinions on the Gaza situation. He wasn't letting his patients know about what he thought of the situation in Gaza. He wasn't even interacting with the crew, the officers, the staff, or the passengers about the situation in Gaza. No, none of that. He was always very professional, very social, at work, on the cruise ships, whether in the medical center or out of the medical center. The reason he got fired, terminated, dismissed, is because of his Twitter account. His sin was to go on Twitter, and he's quite active on Twitter, to be honest. His sin was to express his outrage at the current massacre in Gaza. And so his sin was to go on social media, posting his opinions, nothing extreme, just expressing his outrage. I can't believe so many thousands of people have been killed, so many kids have been killed, this is atrocious, this is horrible, these are war crimes, stuff like that. Nothing hectic. So not even political opinions really, but more the outrage, the natural outrage that you feel when you see the imagery that we see coming out of Gaza, right? And the stories we hear, and all the horror stories and stuff from Al Jazeera, from the population in Gaza, from the medics and the rest. And so what I want to say is this. We are quickly going into a dystopian world. In 1984, you remember? That's where we're going. We're going to move into a situation where we're going to be afraid to talk to each other, express our opinions, in fear that, Big Brother's watching, and depending on what I'm saying, I could be terminated, blacklisted. My business could collapse. And so we're just going to pretend with each other and be hypocritical and live our lives as if we have no opinions. What's your opinion on that situation? No comments. What about the Saudi-Yemen conflict? No comments. What about the Russia-Ukraine conflict? No comments. What about this? No comments. What about that? And that's very sad. That's very sad. Imagine you are conducting yourself professionally at work. You've got the skills, you've got the knowledge, you've got the management capabilities, you've got the resume, your patients love you, and yet, because of some tweets, some reposts mostly, you get dismissed from your employment. It's very sad. It is very sad. It is very alarming as well, that people can be cancelled like that. Now, we're not talking here about somebody that goes on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok screaming, death to this, death to that. No. We're talking about somebody who is on Twitter and says that, the massacre, in fact, his tweet was, this massacre has to stop. 8,000 children are dead. Ceasefire now. That was the tweet that got him fired. The sad thing is, he wasn't even confronted by his management. He finished his contract last week, left the ship, flew back home to the UK, and as he arrived in the UK 2 days later, he was told, we will not renew your contract because of your frightening, deplorable tweets. Your repeated support on Twitter for a ceasefire in Gaza leaves the company no other alternatives than to terminate your contract. Absolutely crazy. I mean, bear in mind that in the last meeting in the United Nations, more than 100 countries, more than 100 countries from around the world voted for a ceasefire. And so, yeah, that's the situation. That's sad. That's sad. I mean, we are in 2023. Your social media accounts are being used against you to monitor you, censor you, muffle you. And so, yeah, we are quickly going toward a 1984 scenario. And I want to say this. Whatever your political views on social media, I mean, that's social media. You should be free to say whatever you want to say. I mean, before social media, imagine, before social media, so you're at work with colleagues, you're all working nicely, you're all getting along beautifully, and then at one point there is a barbecue outside work, or you meet in a restaurant with friends. Not at work, not your colleagues, but friends. And there, you're in a bar, it's maybe 9 o'clock at night, you guys are having some drinks, it's a Friday night after work, the weekend starts, and you talk about the situation in Palestine. And you're going onto a heated debate, but a healthy debate. Some people are pro-Israel, some people are pro-Palestine. You end up talking about the Russia-Ukraine situation. Again, it's a debate. Some people are pro-Ukraine, some people are pro-Russia. Then you talk about the Saudi Arabia situation. And again, some people are pro-Saudi Arabia, some people are pro-Yemen. But then by the end of the night, you all agree to disagree and you go home. And then life goes on. On Monday, you go back to work and, you work fine. But then every weekend when you meet, you have discussions like that. And sometimes even at home, you might disagree with your parents, brothers, sisters, children. But then it's always well, people disagree. People have different political views. But now more and more, you see people losing their jobs in 2023 in the United States, in the UK, in France, for their political opinions on what's going on in Gaza right now. This is very alarming. Cheers.